This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
Welcome to Clever Title Pending with your host, Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Don't send him title recommendations because Brian knows exactly what he's doing. So just sit down and look pretty as Brian K. Morris scrolls through your comments and plays with his mouse. Join him on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, for Evening Pandemonium and Moonlight Madness.
Good evening, everyone. How the heck are you? Glad to have you here on a very special episode of Clever Title Pending. I'm your host, Brian K. Morris, and this is the September 29th, 2020 edition, and we are the alternative to whatever's going on the big networks right now. There's some sort of show going on, but some sort of some sort of discussion or something. But the real discussion is going to be here because we've got somebody here. He's a friend of mine that I really dig. I'm not just a friend, but a fanboy of his, I guess you might say. And so as the evening progresses, we hope that you will bring your questions to this man because he's not only a very talented writer of comic books and novels and short stories and such, and an editor. He's also a publisher of Flinch Books, and he's just an all-around talent, great guy. And I'm really looking forward to your questions and to talking to my friend here, Mr. Jim Beard. Jim, how are you tonight, sir?
I feel like Mike TV and Willy Wonka. Hello, is this thing on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we had him trapped in the green room, so to speak. And now he's unleashed. Oh, my God. Anyway, we look forward to everyone's questions, as usual. And if you're watching us from some other places like the Pulp Heroes page on Facebook, as well as the Pulp Factory group, hi, guys, how you doing? And author Charles F. Millhouse Presents. If you have a question, please go over to the Rising Tide Publications page or my page, Brian K. Morris, so that you can ask questions and we will see them. And Jim will just be witty and charming and delightful, as he always is. I don't think I'm expecting too much of you.
I should warn you, I've been drinking heavily all day today to prepare for this.
That's the only way you can prepare for this show. Oh, yeah.
This is my drinking heavily all day to prepare for this.
And mine is just pure water, and so, but
and I'm sorry for the product placement, but Pepsi paid me the big bucks to hold this up today, so that.
It's like I'm in an episode. It's like Spice World 2 or something here. This is great.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, I know. There we go with the topical reference.
Wow.
I know. what can I say? I'm a fan. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. But anyway, Jim, I'm going to let you have the whole floor here and all the dirt on it. I want you to tell everyone who you are, what you do, and why you're so darned awesome, aside from the fact that you know
did
me.
such a good job of it. Why the hell do I have to say anything? Come on.
Eloquence and charm. Those are your watchwords, Jim.
Well, like I said, you did a pretty good job of it. Basically, I'm a writer. Sweep away everything else, and I'm a writer. I'm also an editor and a publisher, like you said, and just an all around nice guy. And what I also am is just a huge fan of genre, comic books. That's where I began. That's what I cut my teeth on as a kid, and pulp, and science fiction, and fantasy, and mystery, and spy stuff, and all of that. Child of the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, I hear you. That's my milieu too. So anyway, we've got a whole bunch of people that are lining up in the outer area here, and they're yelling at you. What do you mean no drinking, Carl Witzman? What the hell? So anyway, we'll be flashing some of your comments on screen. And Jim, can you see it on the right hand side there?
I do see that.
Look at that.
Wow.
I know all these people here. I think they're ignoring you and me, but I can almost understand me, but they're used to me. But anyway, Jim, let's start off the interrogation here. Let's see. What led you to become a writer? What sparked the creativity in the prose area?
That goes all the way back to being a little kid, and I didn't realize that until more recently. I used to say that I probably started creative writing in grade school and into high school. But the more I realized that as a kid, I was always telling stories. Maybe I wasn't necessarily writing them down, but I love to tell stories. I'd see something on TV or I'd see a movie. The first thing I did, I'd head out onto the sidewalk, get the neighborhood kids around me, and start regaling them with, the plot. And I couldn't literally just talk about the plot. I had to literally sit there and act it out. I was doing Stan Lee before I knew that Stan Lee was doing that sort of thing, acting out about plot. So, it goes all the way back to then. I actually have a degree in graphic design, and never really thought about being a writer until right around 2002, when I sold my first professional work to DC Comics. And that was it. I was locked in from there on out. Like Orson Welles said, I started at the top and I'm working my way to the bottom.
I hear you. Now, what was the DC comic? Yeah, really. I'm trying to claw my way out of the basement. But what was your first? You said you sold a script to DC. How did you do that, and what was it?
They used to do these things called secret files. It was these one-shot books, and you'd get a whole bunch of short stories in there, and then in between the short stories was the profile pages for all the different characters. I'm a huge fan of the Justice Society of America. That's my jam when it comes to comics. It's funny, I write for Marvel.com and have for 16, 17 years now, but I'm always a DC guy going way back. My most favorite characters are with DC. Not real thrilled with what they're doing these days for the most part, but I sold a 3-page story to JLA JSA Secret Files #1. And I remember the day I got called by the editor to tell me that he's buying my story was my birthday back in, what was it, 2001, because the book came out, I think, in 2002. And I loved it because he's like, okay, but you know what? We need you to add a page to it. I have a 4-page block to fill. Well, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
specific 3-page story.
You have your artistic integrity to think of, right?
What? Of course, I could add 1 page to it.
20 pages, 100.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny. Now, when did you turn to prose?
When I couldn't get comic book work anymore. It was this weird time in comics. When isn't a weird time in comics, I suppose? But at that moment that I was able to do that, and the portcullis of the castle of comics slammed down, and people like me really couldn't get in like that anymore. I had been writing letters. That was how I started. I was a letter hack and writing a lot of letters to JSA and Flash and Action, Superman comics. And so the editors started to get to know me, and that was when I hit the JSA editor at the time up for getting work. But I spent a few years kind of hitting my head up against that gate, and kept trying to pitch comics and it just wasn't working. It wasn't until really we got into 2010 and past that where I decided I'm going to take my chances with this prose thing. And how this began was I got on Facebook and was building that friends list, and I saw that a writer that I really respected and really enjoyed his work, Ron Fortier. Yeah, and he had written the Green Hornet series for Now Comics, which I absolutely love, because it wasn't just about the modern day. It was wrapping in all of the 40s and 60s stuff, which I absolutely love. I saw him on Facebook, and I saw that he had a publishing company of his own, and they were publishing what was being called New Pulp. And I was always a big pulp fan, and I got that from my dad, who really was a pulp fan back in the heyday of it. And I sent a message, and I'm like, is there opportunities in this thing, And he's like, yeah. He goes, I need you to do like a little audition kind of thing. Write a 2-page excerpt from a pulp novel, and it doesn't matter, what character you use, because it's not going to be published. I just want to see if you get pulp. And I wrote it. I picked Doc Savage here, and I had such a fun with it, and I handed it into him, and he came back and he goes, "Yep, you totally get pulp." And I tell you, something clicked, because I realized that I couldn't really do like regular writing. I wasn't cut out to write slice of life, meaning of life type of novels. I was never going to write the great American novel or anything like that. But what I found out that I could write and be good at it is pulp. That rapid fire, machine gun, end each chapter with a cliffhanger, action, adventure, horror, whatever, pulp. And I haven't looked back since then. And I started to branch out from there, but I did a lot of classic pulp for a few years there, and just haven't had the time of my life doing it. And then I started to realize that style could be adapted to other things, and that was the light bulb that not only went off but like burst, and over my head. And again, that's where I am today, is looking for ways to adapt those sensibilities to other things, combine things that I like, things that hopefully they haven't been done before.
That's great. Now, you mentioned Doc Savage. Was he your first pulp?
Yeah. And my dad was a big Shadow fan. It's funny, growing up, he never mentioned Doc Savage. I assume he would know who Doc Savage was. He was a big Shadow fan, the Shadow Pulps, the Shadow radio show, right. But interestingly enough, I pretty much started with Doc Savage. and because of Mr. Will Murray. I used to get Comic Buyer's Guide when Comic Buyer's Guide was a newspaper, opened up and it folded and everything. And there was a special Doc Savage issue out because Will was right in the middle of reviving Doc Savage and doing new Doc Savage works. I knew who Doc Savage was, but I had never really been into it before. And I read all of the articles in that, all the Doc Savage articles, and that just lit my brain on fire. And what I did is I went out and bought one of his Doc Savage novels. This is funny. The first Doc Savage novel I ever read was one of Will's, not an original, not one of the Bantam, reprints from the 30s the 40s. And it was White Eyes, and I enjoyed it enough. And then I thought, you know what? I've got to start at the beginning. And started going out and looking for it. And it was at a time when it was hard to find these reprints. And I would go online and I'd find internet sites that had listings that would tell me where pulp stories had been reprinted. And I'd be on eBay and going into used bookstores and trying to find out. Now, I can, walk out my front door and there's, people reprinting pulp novels. Practically everything's been reprinted now. But at that time, it was not easy. A lot of the stuff had been printed in the 60s and 70s. That it kind of had spun out of the camp craze from Batman 66. All these publishers were looking at all this creaky old 30s and 40s stuff and saying, "Oh, we'll reprint it, but we'll make it camp. We'll tell people it's camp." Right. And I didn't care. They were putting really fun, covers on the paperbacks, and I just, for a few years, I was just having the time of my life searching for all these pulp reprints and just finding all this really great stuff. And then, like I said, we have this bounty of it now.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned pulp writing and the quick pace of it. Cindy Kep is our chief questioner here, and she's a writer herself, a very talented one, and we'll get to the questions in just a minute here. But yeah, it's and Doc Savage was my first one too. Curse of the Werewolf, that beautiful cover where it looked like Lon Chaney was strangling Doc.
That's the novel that introduced Pat Savage.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? For that title and all of the hype for it, there's very little werewolf in it.
Talk about deceptive advertising.
And not a real werewolf either, that I remember. Oops. Spoiler alert.
Oh, you didn't hear that, people. No. Yes. Spoilers my ass. Anyway, Joe Dog McKeel's Stupid O'Clock, the great show on Thursday nights and Saturday nights. This is why I'm here and not watching network TV, says Joe Dog. Yes. Wait a minute. He's the guy that said he was going to watch the debate instead of watching us. No, that was Nick Talkert. Nick Talkert.
Okay. Well, forgive me, Joe Dog.
Yes. And Cindy Kep has her first question. What separates a good comic book from a great one?
Wow. Jack Kirby.
Pretty much.
It's a good question, but it really is opinions. There's a lot of what a lot of people consider crappy comic books that I love, and maybe it's because they're so bad that they're good. In the camp era of the 60s, when Black Hawk was turned into a superhero comic book, I love that stuff. You know what I mean? But a lot of people just think it's this is not Black Hawk. It's the stupidest thing I ever saw. To me, sometimes it's when a comic book forgets that it's a comic book is when it becomes mediocre. When it forgets its roots and it gets too smart alecky for its own good. You can overwrite a comic book. You just have to remember what you're working in, what the medium is that you're working in, and go from there. It's like pulp. Tell the story and then get out of there, right? Mm-hmm. That can be applied to comic books too. Good characters that you care about and like, and you want to follow their adventures. But yeah, I would say that once you start to a writer or a publisher or whatever gets too full of themselves and tries to elevate it to a lofty thing. It is an art form, and don't get me wrong about that. And what I love about it is it's an original American art form, and a lot of people don't see it that way. But that's how I would say that. And Jack Kirby.
All things flow from Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
And now Michaela Jade, another author. Glad to have you here, Michaela. What got you started in writing?
Oh, didn't I already answer that?
Yeah, I believe you did.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
See, for those of you who just came in,
for those who came in late, all you Phantom fans,
a man appeared on a flaming pie and said, "You shall be Beatles with an A." Oh no, wait, that's somebody else's story.
Oh yeah.
You know why it was? I couldn't hack it as an artist, and I had to have some creative outlet, and I started writing in earnest. Mm-hmm. And the key was finding pulp and realizing that that's what I could write. Mm-hmm. And then it all came together. I was a storyteller at first as a child. And then realize that I could reach a lot more people if I would start writing it down.
Well, you wouldn't have to repeat yourself quite so often.
Yeah. How's that for an answer?
I like that. That was a good one. I'll just ask you four or five more times, Jim, and who knows what will happen.
Right. It's your turn next time, so you have to remember everything I said, and then you get to answer how I started writing next time.
Okay. I can lie as well as you can, Jim. Anyway, Cindy Kemp would now like to know, what is your favorite project that you were involved in?
Wow.
Do you have one that stands out? Because you've done so much.
Anyone with Brian K. Morris in it.
Right. Not that, I would want to promote it or anything. But,
here we go.
But, of course, everyone should be going to Amazon. Quest for the Space Gods, the finest anthology ever put out.
Is that one freaking beautiful cover on that book? Or
it is. Seriously.
Yeah. My little tiny, Flinch Books publishing house, and we got a Mark Maddox cover.
That's major. That is seriously major.
It really is. That would be one of them. Yeah. My Planet of the Apes anthology is something that I'm supremely proud of. With my co-editor Rich Hanley. We put together just this perfect storm of a book. I'm proud of that. I have a co-authored novel called Airship Hunters that to me is one of the pinnacles of what I've done. I probably always say it's like the latest thing I've done is the one that I'm is my favorite, but there's so many of them because I only do stuff that I love. When I'm doing something that I don't love too much, then something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing about the state of publishing as it is now. That there's so many ways to get your work out that you don't have to prostitute yourself like I do. But anyway,
it's true. And I tell you, I get asked that so much at shows and I see it online so many times, how do I find a publisher? Well, look in yourself first and ask yourself if you can publish it. Don't dismiss self-publishing. Oh, well, I can't do that. I don't have the know-how and the money and baloney. It's, what, the know-how, if you can't read tutorials and figure it out, then you know what you do? You surround yourself by people who do know how to do it. And that's what I've done. I don't have the know-how to do anything but write and edit. I surrounded myself with good people. I got a fantastic partner in publishing, John Bruning, and we started gathering a stable of writers. We got a formatter that is now we consider as as our Flinch Books formatter. We've got cover people who can do covers, and not only that, but they know how to pull together the graphic look, do the logos, and all of that. And you know what? You are going to put out some money, but it's not going to be that much. And if you do it right, you're going to make that money back. But why hand a significant amount of the profits to somebody else when you can just do it yourself and take all the profits yourself?
Exactly.
There's never been a better time to do this. All of the technology is out there. There's, all these different platforms. You can start with Amazon/Kindle, and it's all there. They tell you how to do it. And put it together yourself. Make sure that you're running it past other people to say, hey, does this look good? Or you're gonna get marked as a rank amateur. But always consider self-publishing. Always, and never ever pay someone else to publish your work. Don't do it. I don't care if you find a publisher that says, oh no, we're not like that. Well, again, baloney, don't do it. They should be paying you.
Exactly. Money should flow to the artist.
Yeah. Enough. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I like that idea.
I'm trying to help. Anyway, Cindy Kip would like to know your favorite story that you weren't involved in.
Oh,
let's see. What was the name of my story again?
I was involved in that, Brian.
Oh, that's true. Never mind. Okay,
yeah. That would never have happened without me. Do you see how this works? I sort of take that to mean like favorite writers. Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, who are your favorite writers? Who inspires you?
Grade school into high school, and still to this day, he's still. Right up there is Robert Heinlein. And I loved it because he was writing very advanced, denser, thoughtful science fiction, but he had this whole slew of juveniles that I absolutely love, and very pulpy. Again, guy was a pulp writer, Ray Bradbury, and guess what? He was a pulp writer to begin with. So you see this trend going here? I just absorbed Alan Dean Foster novels. I'd read anything that Alan Dean Foster wrote. And then much later on, I found this writer that I absolutely love, and he doesn't write enough, and he doesn't really write the things that I like anymore, named James P. Blaylock. The Last Coin is probably my favorite novel of his, and I have a few other writers that I like, but those off the top of my head, those would be the ones that I think really made me the reader that I am today. As far as pulp goes, it's going to be Lester Dent, and not only do I love him as a reader, but as a writer. If I had to say who was I emulating with the way I write pulp, it's going to be Lester Dent. As far as I'm concerned, he and Walter Gibson wrote the book, and many books. Yeah,
one every week
on what pulp is.
Yeah, very cool. Cindy Cap would like to know now, what is the weirdest thing you had to research?
Okay. I wrote a story for an anthology for Pro Se. It was the Lynn Lash anthology. And they had to license that because that character is still owned by the Lester Dent estate. I got to write a Lester Dent. And in that story, there is a group of Japanese saboteurs hiding out in New York City. And when Lynn Lash stumbles upon them, they're cooking fish in a pan over a burner, and it's fugu. And fugu is a fish that it's one of those ones where if you don't prepare it just right, you die when you eat it. I had to sit and research this whole thing about and all the different kinds of fugu and the way to prepare them, and you have to do this or that or you die, and that was really interesting, and that plays into the story of it. So that's definitely one of the weirdest things. And don't even ask me how I even came to that. Nobody said, "Oh, we need you to put fugu in this story." It's like somehow I stumbled upon it. I think I started looking into like Japanese foods, like what could they be standing there over a little flame with a pan and preparing, because there was something else that sort of informed that too, and so yeah, that's a good one just off the top of my head.
That's hilarious. That's
I
great.
love that. Good question.
Way to go, Cindy. Jeff Hazen.
That's a very familiar name to me.
Yeah, you might know the guy. He shows up here all the time. That's probably why. Anyway, there we go. Yeah, that's my man. And he and I are talking about projects together too. So evidently he hasn't talked to you about what a jerk I am. So
no, we haven't gotten quite to the Brian K. Morris is a jerk conversation yet.
It'll happen. Anyway, Jimmy says, you are a fan of old movies and classic TV. How has this impacted your writing, if at all? I would imagine it probably is an influence because everything goes into your head and comes out something.
It must. I guess it has. Weirdly enough, I think comics have influenced my writing more than anything, and not just for writing comics, but for writing prose also. And I know that sounds weird, but there's so many different things that I came across in reading comics as a kid that have stuck with me. Episodic television of the 60s and 70s, it was get in, tell the story, and get out. And we've kind of lost that today. Star Trek is a good example of that. It morphed from an hour-long episodic, you tell the story, and yeah, you have recurring characters, and I get that. And there's some growth over those 3 years, not a whole lot, but they're pretty much like pulp characters. They need to be pretty much the same as they at the end of the episode as they are at the beginning of the episode. Pulp characters are the same way. You can't do things to their lives other than you have an adventure and then it's over, and they pretty much stay the same. But yeah, I guess in a way episodic television did that. And it's as far as some of like the horror that I've written, I was definitely influenced by the classic Universal monster movies in different projects that I've done. Most definitely with their way of being atmospheric without blood and gore and creepy again without graphic violence and all of that. So good question, Jeff.
Very good question.
Love you, baby. Love you, baby.
Well, speaking of people, this is almost becoming an episode of This Is Your Life. We have this gentleman here who is one of my favorite editors.
Why do you do this to me?
He says, hey guys, I'm sitting in my house in CLE, just 12 miles away from the debate stage, but I'm here instead because I have my priorities straight. You're a good American, John. Proud of you, sir. And for those of you who don't know, he is the co-editor of this fine, super fine book here. It's available on Amazon. Or email me. I'll sell you a copy. I'll even sign the thing for you.
No, I get to sell a copy to them before you do.
Oh, that's right. I got to be nice to you for the next hour and a half, don't I? Oh, well. Yeah. Anyway, go to Amazon and check it out.
If anybody out there is looking for a publishing partner, you want to start your own publishing house, you have to find a guy like John Bruning. You can't have him because I already have him. but suffice to say, there would be no flinch books. And what are we up to right now? I think 9-10 books, something like that. We do about a book a year, which is okay. We will publish no book before it's time. But like I was saying, you would do well to find somebody like John. I'm not rooted to the to the earth. I'm kind of up here in the the ionosphere most of the time, and he's very grounded. So it was exactly what I need, but also very creative. He has an incredible series of books that he started. He's 2 volumes into it, called The Midnight Guardian. And if you want pulp, you want classic, pure pulp, those are the books to go to. And if you also want world building in your pulp, you go to that. He has the city that the Midnight Guardian inhabits is like a character itself. He's building this fictional city, and it's just amazing. He knows every freaking street and every store and shop and restaurant on every street in the city.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I have my own John Bruning, but I married her. But anyway, Douglas Tech agrees that we're right.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know. It's the things I do to get a good collaborator, I'm telling you. And Charles F. Millhouse, another great pulp writer there. Evening to you, my friend. And Cindy Kemp now has part of her question is, what's your favorite joke? Or is that when, or remembering the language level of the show, if we can put up an not safe for work thing here, we can.
Brian K. Morris walked into a bar and
that's my single life.
Sorry, that's the Mountain Dew talking. I'm sorry, it's time for another product placement.
I know, there we go.
I don't usually drink pop, but when I do, get it? When I do.
And Jim's going, never again. Anyway, Cindy Kemp contributes. 2 guys walked into a bar. The third one ducked. You'll get it one day, Jim, and you'll just laugh.
What are the questions? I question the lack of questions on this show. Who's running this show?
Not me.
No. You don't get to talk to a guy that's not on this show saying hi to Charles Millhouse. Jeez, you can do that any day.
Oh, no. I haven't seen him since Saturday.
Hush, Mr. Fez. This is a good question.
Yes,
your favorite genre to write?
Okay, go ahead, Jim. What is your favorite genre to write?
What Doctor Who episode did you escape from, buddy?
I haven't left yet.
It's a great question, and here's a not so great answer. One where I can combine genres. That's what I love to do. Is to take this and go, let's see if this fits together. Beyond that, I'm trying to think of what I've written the most of, and weirdly enough, it's probably paranormal, supernatural / horror. Looking back at everything that I've written, there's a lot of monster stuff, and that would be like Universal monsters or Hammer or giant monsters, kaiju, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely monsters. I keep gravitating back to monsters. I can't get enough of that stuff, and not only doing things in a classic way with monsters, but trying to find something new also with monsters. So that's my answer.
That's a very good one too. And you talk about kaiju. I should have mentioned it at the top of the show. There is a Kickstarter going on. War on Monster Earth.
Today and tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, well, you've got 7 days left to go. Describe the project.
Oh, isn't it? Oh, I was thinking it was to the end of the month. Oh, no, it's 7 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A few years back, a really great guy named James Palmer and I created a thing called Monster Earth. And it was as far as we can tell, the very first shared world giant monster anthology. There are other giant monsters anthologies, but the stories are not all set in the same universe. It seemed like a no-brainer, but we looked around and it's like nobody else is doing this. How is it that we stumbled upon this thing? But so Monster Earth is a shared world giant monster anthology. It has a sequel called Betrayal on Monster Earth. And now, all these years later, because we had put it on hold for quite a while, we are actually working on the third volume to complete the trilogy, and it's called War for Monster Earth. There's a Kickstarter. You just look for War for Monster Earth, and it will tell you everything about it. We got a great group of writers. Jeff Hayes is doing the covers on these, and there's some really, really great things that you can get. You don't have to worry about not knowing about the first two books, because there's certain levels that you can choose that you get the first two books plus the third book. Yeah, I hate to say it, but we're kind of not so close to the goal. And Kickstarter, it's all for nothing, BS. but if some sugar daddies out there want to swoop in and save this Kickstarter, we would certainly appreciate it. The book is going to happen no matter what. But boy, would we really, really love to, in advance, pay the, writers and the artists and show our appreciation, because we're bringing it on home. And I got to tell you, the Earth may not survive this one.
Who knows? Well, two things I got to say. One, I have just posted the address for the Kickstarter. So everyone, Nevermorians, I want y'all to pledge to that thing tonight. If you, not if you can, just do it, because it looked really awesome, and I have pledged towards it as well.
Thank you.
And well, you're welcome, Jim. I take care of my people. That's what it is. And and it looked really good. So definitely, and also there's always Indiegogo if this doesn't pan out.
Sure.
Yep. I've gotten into the crowdfunding culture, and there's just sometimes it looks like Indiegogo's a little more sympathetic to books than Kickstarter can be.
Are they an all for nothing or all or nothing? Oh, no. Okay. See, no, I don't get that personally, but whatever. I've been involved in other Kickstarter book publication things that have gone way past that. Thrilling adventure yarns from Crazy 8 press.
Oh,
yeah. They went way past.
Yeah.
They could have funded that book plus our book plus another book, but and I get it. There's so many Kickstarters out there that want your money. All I ask is that you read through it, see what we're doing. If you love Godzilla movies, you love all of that giant monster stuff, and just really groove on that, then give us a try. And I promise you that the concluding volume of the trilogy is just going to be explosive in a good way.
With the destruction of the Earth. Oh, there I go again. Anyway, no, dang it. No, and also if you're watching Ultraman Z like I am, and digging that, I love all that stuff. That's what attracted me to the project.
I'm watching Ultraman, right
yeah,
now.
the original. That's great.
I bought the like the best of Ultraman that they did. What I can't think of the name of the company that's doing those wonderful Blu-ray sets.
I can't either. They've got that interesting package though that because they also did like
it's like Hill House or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But it's a package with all the DVDs just kind of like piled inside or something.
They look beautiful, and if you buy the different sets of the series and then you line them up on your shelves, it creates a picture across the boxes. But what I did is I enjoyed that Ultraman so much. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid that I said, damn it all. It's like Doc Savage. I have to start at the beginning. And I got Ultra Q.
I'm watching that now on YouTube. Yeah.
Brian, it literally became one of my most favorite TV series of all time.
I can understand.
I recommend this. If you're a giant monster fan, you've got to check this out. A Japanese giant monster fan, and you can roll with Japanese special effects of the 60s. It's in black and white. It has 3 recurring characters, actually almost a fourth, that the professor guy.
Right.
it is in Japanese, but it's subtitled, and I got to tell you that it's the most enjoyable, fun, goofy, wonderful, sometimes very intelligently written, and characters that you kind of fall in love with. I fell in love with the girl in that show.
Oh, yes.
And good for me, she continues into Ultraman. She's Akiko Fuji in Ultraman. So and it's funny. I'm getting Ultraman in a completely different way than as a kid. I'm seeing so much stuff that I never really realized as a kid. So really enjoying that. And then I have to decide whether I'm going to move on. After that, am I going to do, what is it? Ultra 7 is next, I think, or something like that.
Here's the scary part. Ultraman Z or Z is the 38th Ultraman feature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like Ultraman Zoffy and Ultraman Leo and Ultraman, that, and the other.
Ultraman Jack. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's a couple Ultra Women in there, then the team ups and then the films, so it's like, well, I'm not going to get it done this week.
I think probably once I get past the 60s or the 70s, I'm probably not going to be too interested, after that. But where I'm at right now is the sweet spot for me. I'm a huge fan of Jet Jaguar from Godzilla vs. Megalon. The totally, completely underrated and underappreciated Jet Jaguar. And I really love the Pacific Rim movies. Giant monsters and giant robots, and I'm there.
Oh, man. Yeah, you can't beat that for entertainment. Now, I'm pleased to announce that the following person has made it over here rather than those stuffy debates, okay? Those guys are good at debating, and they're masters at it. But anyway, they came over. Nick Tockard has come over here, you right-thinking American youth. Thank you, Nick. How do you feel, if at all, the entrance process to being published beyond self-publishing has changed? And what formats of writing do you recommend for practice? How has conventional publishing changed in the time that you've been doing it, Jim?
Editors still suck.
And he says that as an editor, right?
I say that as an editor. You know what? Listen, and John Bruning's going to back me up on that. We set out to be, in Flinch Books, everything that we hate with other publishers. I mean, we're heretics. We answer emails. I know.
What?
But
go on with your bad self.
And this is obviously not putting it down. I started in small press. So I had the benefit of the better and more personal interaction that you're going to get from small press. And I was lucky with the few big time comic book things that I've done, a little bit for DC, Dark Horse, and IDW, that every single one of those times I had a good or great editor and had no problems working with the license holders of whatever the project was. Everybody was good. So I don't have any horror stories from that. Beyond that, in bigger companies, it's still a game of, we know you are in our stable. We don't really want to look at anybody, new. Having a big high profile project does not mean you're going to get more work. I thought that Planet of the Apes anthology was just going to open doors like crazy. I'm still banging my head on those doors, I pretty much have said I've been blessed with the licensed work that I've done, and if I don't get to do any more, I've got this wonderful bundle of licensed projects that I did, and I should be very, very happy with that, because there's a lot of heartache involved with trying to work with those bigger publishers, because it's more impersonal. And sometimes you have to deal with more than one person, it's, you don't always get an answer back. You're just one of many people working on it. Thing. And what formats of writing do you recommend for practice? You know what? Practice. I always say when people go, I'm in my second draft right now, and it's like, what is this drafts that you're talking about? You know what I say? Just write and write something to be published. That should be your practice, is writing so many different things that you become a really, good writer. But I can't, maybe that's just me. I can't really see writing just for practice. I'm going to, hone my craft by keep working on things that I intend to be published. So that's kind of a difficult question for me, and I didn't really give it that great of an answer. Hi, Jason.
Jason was one of my hosts this weekend.
Oh, so, cool.
At NonCon.
And he's still talking to you.
I know, it's remarkable. Well, he spent most of the weekend away from me, so that's probably why I'm still a novelty to him.
I wonder if he drank heavily before he was on the show.
I've driven more people to drink than any other talk show host ever. Anyway, Michaela Jade asks, how important would you say it is to network with people higher up the ladder than you?
Oh,
it's important, Michaela. It's really important,
It is actually important if that's what you're aiming at. You know what I mean? And you've got to be really careful. I've been blessed with getting to know, and then working with, bigger people. To the point where I now there are these different people I can email and maybe even ask them to be involved in something that I'm doing down here on this level. They may not say yes, but at least I can talk to them. But yeah, it is. And I hate all those, buzzwords. I'm not that kind of a industry guy that I love, networking and all of that. But it is true. You have to get to know these people and try to get to know them as a real person, and be true and honest. Make sure that you never come off as somebody that's trying to get something out of them, because you know what, they can sense that. They know who's trying to suck up to them to get to something. Just be a forthright, honest person, and chances are you may get some work out of that. I have. Okay, I'm going to drop a name. Is that okay on this show? Am I allowed to drop a name?
Oh my God, we drop so many names we leave craters. Go for it, Jim.
Jonathan Mayberry.
Yeah.
Big time horror writer Jonathan Mayberry. I started to follow him on Facebook, and got to know him. I think the first time I sent him a personal message was to tell him that I enjoyed his novelization of the Wolfman movie, the Del Toro, Wolfman movie, right? Yeah. Oh. And he seemed honestly, tickled by that, which was really cool. Started to get to know him, but not heavy duty time. And one day he put up on Facebook that he was going to be publishing the 3rd volume of his X-Files anthologies through IDW, and that he had like one slot left, and he was going to throw it open to pitches. So I thought, what the heck, and in 20 minutes I wrote a pitch and I sent it to him, and he said he had gotten like 856 pitches or something like that. And the next thing I know, I can't remember. I suddenly get a PM from him, and he's like, so could you do an however many word story in X amount of time? And it's like, yeah. Even if I couldn't, the answer was yeah. And he said, welcome to the X-Files.
Nice.
So that was a wonderful relationship to begin because the Planet of the Apes book came along. Our editor at Titan said, we really need to have some cool names in this book. We need names that people go, oh my God, so-and-so writing in a Planet of the Apes story? I have to buy this book. And I went to Jonathan, and you know, it was almost like returning the favor. I said, do you want to write a Planet of the Apes story? And I can't repeat here what he said back. He said, you know, bleep, yeah. I love it. It was the greatest like personal message on Facebook ever, you know.
That's fabulous.
So to go back to your question, it is important, again, if that's what you're aiming to do. Otherwise, don't worry about it. You may get to know these people regardless, but unless you are aiming to work at those levels, and remember, there's going to be a lot of heartache that comes with that sort of work, and believe me, you know, it can happen. Then don't worry too much about it, because then you're gonna get to the point where you think that you have to do it. You have to have so many people that you know, and I got it. And you're doing more of that baloney than actually writing.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you know, yeah, and I did the same thing. You know, it's like I did. You know, like when I friended you and started following you, it wasn't with the intention of getting work. It was, you know, I admired your work. You know, I'm a Sgt. Janus fanboy, and it, you know, the stars just aligned one time. There we go. And that's your third book is currently on Amazon, is it not?
Yes, all three. Yeah, it took me many years, but I finally published the third one. And what we did is we brought Sgt. Janus over to Flinch Books. We were talking about Ron Fortier earlier on, and his company Airship 27. Ron took a chance on me, and he published my first Sgt. Janus novel. And I'm eternally grateful to him for doing that. And then not long, I think it was like literally the next year, we published Sgt. Janus Returns. And then I started getting so wrapped up in other projects that I dragged my heels on getting back to Sgt. Janus. I had done a couple of short stories here and there, but that, you know, I had promised that third novel like 6-7 years ago. And then John and I started talking, and Midnight Guardian of his was already at Flinch, and we said, wouldn't it be great to have these two sort of flagship characters, mine and his, at Flinch Books? And we talked back and forth about it, and we decided to do that. So we moved the first two Sgt. Janus novels over to Flinch Books. We re-edited and expanded them and gave them beautiful new Jeff Hayes covers. And then I hunkered down and wrote that damn third book, and here it is. And I need feedback on this. You know, it can't just be that my co-publisher read it and said it was good. I want to hear what people think. If you like occult detectives, if you like that genre, or if you don't know what that genre is and you want to look into it, it's definitely, you know, rooted in that occult detective tradition. But hopefully I'm spinning some stuff on it to make it uniquely mine.
Yeah, I mean, I read the first book. I loved it. I really did. And then I read the second book, which really took some interesting turns. You know, some left turns to that character, and I applaud your. It was pretty bold, actually, what you did with Janus. You know, on that book. I really, you're very welcome. I sincerely enjoyed it. I will be picking up a copy of that third one eventually.
Yeah, wait till you read that.
I'm going to add it to the pile of books that probably is now about this high of my friends who I haven't gotten to their books yet.
Sgt. Janus for me is definitely about taking chances.
Mm-hmm. Well, it paid off. Definitely paid off, and I do endorse that book for what it's worth. So remember, look at the address down at the bottom of the screen: www.amazon.com Amazon.com/author/Jim Beard. Check out what Jim Beard works on. You will not be disappointed. And someone else here, my cover artist, Trevor Hawkins, one of many. So I would think that the Wesley Dodds Sandman is the most pulpy character in the JSA. Would you agree, Jim?
I would definitely agree with that. A guy with a gas mask, a floppy brimmed hat, and a suit, with a cape. Yeah, he definitely sprang right out of the pulp pages as far as that goes. Beyond that, Wildcat, is fairly pulpy. It's the Mystery Men characters, those ground level characters, and they're the ones that I love the most. Batman is my most favorite fictional character of all time, and he, without the pulps, he wouldn't be Batman. He's the Shadow, and he's the Scarlet Pimpernel, and a few other different things. But yeah, and I love that. And I love the Simon and Kirby Sandman. They took him and they did not make him the long underwear type of character. He did get changed to that, and not long after that they took him over. But those stories are still very pulpy, even though he and Sandy are running around in skin tight, purple and gold and red and gold costumes, but it's the guys with no powers, with just two fists and maybe a gadget or two here and there, and that's what I really love. My most favorite JSA character is Dr. Midnight, and again, the Black Bat is literally a blind man who can really see, but only in specific circumstances, and that's Dr. Midnight. Dr. Midnight is a lawyer, but then he becomes a writer. Or pardon me. Well, he was a doctor, but I can't. Boy, it's been so long now.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was a doctor. Yeah, but
he became a writer.
Not a character who was chasing the money.
Yeah. And then and then Stan Lee and Bill Everett and then Wally Wood come along and create a blind lawyer character in Daredevil. Stan was a huge fan of the pulps. He always said he loved the Spider. And you can see it in a lot of those early Marvel books, the pulp influence there. But great question. Yeah, Sandman definitely is. But I also love Wildcat, love Dr. Midnight, Mr. Terrific. Without the costumes, who they are and what they do, very pulpy stuff.
Very. And me, I would kill to write a pulp. I would love to write a pulp Spectre.
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be great? Well,
yeah, all from Corrigan's point of view.
Yeah, in a way, they got back to that in more in the modern era.
The Illustrator stuff
with Jim Corrigan. In all of that Gotham Central,
right?
Stuff. So here we got the question about what's the difference between a good comic and a great comic. A great comic is one that remembers that without the pulps, the comics would be nothing. Comics sprang from the pulps. So a comic that remembers its pulp roots could be a great comic.
Yeah, you'll never see decompressed storytelling in a pulp story. So he said gratefully. Nick Tockard says, and I said I might miss it because spinning it as an alternative, this show, to the debate as a subtle backhanded plug made conversation. There we go. And we fell into your trap, you clever man, T-Man, you. Rick Bradley, another author here, asks, for you, is it more stressful to work on an established IP or to work on your own creations?
Wow, another good question. You know what it is? It's not more stressful. It's a different kind of stress. Because with my own stuff, I'm taking chances. You know, I could screw Sergeant Janus up. I could do something that people who have read it all along would hate. It's a different kind of pressure to write a licensed character because you have to get it right. You can't enter into it by saying, I'm going to change this character. I'm going to put my stamp on it. You can't do that unless you are a well-established, writer in licensed work, and you've been writing a licensed character for a long time, and you go to your, your editor so well and the publishers, and you say, listen, I want to do this. You can't do that. But the pressure is on you to get the voice correctly, especially if it's something based on TV or film. If you don't get that right, then just forget it. I did a Kolchak novel that I'm very proud of, and that was through Joe Gentile through of Moonstone Books, and he was adamant that Kolchak sound like Kolchak. And what I do on anything, I've written Ghostbusters comics, and I've written, Kolchak and like the Planet of the Apes thing is whenever I write any kind of dialogue, I then have to play it back through my head, but I have to hear the actors, If I don't hear Bill Murray in my Peter Venkman lines of dialogue, then it's not working. And because you know why? The fans of those characters are going to let you know. The first line of the review is going to be, totally off character. Yeah. You can't go into those projects thinking that you're going to do whatever the hell you want to do. You have to go in there respecting the license, respecting the character, and realize you are not working for yourself. You are working for those license holders and the owners of the IP. And then going back to the original stuff again, it's the same pressure of wanting to put out good material, but it's also that pressure of, wow, I have to constantly do something new, and if that's what it's all about with your character of saying something different or advancing them with it. I want Sergeant Janus to always feel the same, but I always want to be pushing the boundaries. And in 3 novels, I feel like I've done that. I just haven't heard from anybody yet on the 3rd one.
Okay, I'll buy a copy.
And I am. It's funny. I am. I'm nervous about it. I returned to the character after many years. The book was written in my head, but I had to put it down, on the keyboard and on the published page, and just two different kinds of pressure and stress.
Yeah. Well, I admit that when I did the story for you, not that I'm trying to make this about me at all, but you paid me a great compliment. Well, no, you paid me a great compliment the first time we met, and I turned in the submission for Quest for the Space Gods, and you told me I nailed the voice, nailed the personality, and I just, that to me that was better than any payday. Knowing I had done right by your character. So.
I appreciate that, and hopefully we can get back to Conrad von Honig at some point. We need somebody to write a Conrad von Honig novel, a full length prose novel.
Well, I might know someone.
Okay.
Who might be interested. As soon as he gets this other thing done, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. Good.
Everybody's like, "What's wrong with you two?" Anyway, that with me.
Okay, Brian K. Morris fans, if you are also fans of the ancient astronaut craze of the 1970s, all that Von Daniken stuff, you will really enjoy Quest for the Space Gods, because it is totally that and more.
Yes, it is. It's Carl Kolchak meets Chariots of the Gods. That's how I sell it.
Yeah, it meets X-Files and many other different things. Yeah, if Von Daniken was a globe-trotting sort of adventurer, kind of a character, but that's exactly what that book is. That is definitely a high watermark for me with Flinch books so far. With everything just came together so great with that book.
Yeah, I'm proud to be in it.
We're proud to have you in it.
Well, I'm proud to be had.
And you know what? That was the first co-creation of John and myself. Right. That was the first thing that we created together. Was Conrad von Honig.
And it's kind of said that I'm putting together my own anthology of my own character, and it's like that was a high watermark for me, and I'm trying to bring my game up to that level too. So it's that's another nice thing about working with other people, even if you're self-published. Yeah. I learn a lot working with you and John, working with Tommy Hancock and other people. If I can drop names,
I gotta tell you, working with other people is probably what I love the most out of everything. It's we don't work in a vacuum. We're I think I love building an anthology almost more than anything. I mean, there are days where I think if I could just sit around and have somebody pay me to come up with anthology concepts, just to be an editor of anthologies, I might be a happy guy. But it's all about, it's not just about creating my own characters and writing them myself, but it's also allowing those characters out into the yard and inviting other kids to come in and play in that same sandbox. I'm using a lot of metaphors there, but
I like it.
That's what it's all about. Okay, Sergeant Janus, I'm not in any sort of way that I want other people to touch that character at this moment. That may change someday. But when I create these other characters specifically to see what other people can do with them, that's what's really, really fun. And it's working with this wide variety of writers. I said that John and I sort of had a little stable going of writers, dependable people that we can go to. But it's also finding new ones. Early next year, we're coming out with a new anthology, and the entire book is writers that Flinch Book has not worked with before.
Oh, nice.
It's a whole new slate of writers, and wait until you see this lineup.
Oh, cool.
One in particular is going to blow people's minds. We are just so proud to have this writer in this book. And we're going to be announcing it on Veterans Day. The lineup, what? What'd you say?
I said very cool. I'm
like, what's it called?
Yeah, no. I figured you'll get around to that with the press release. We're not going to try to drag any information out of you. So, yes.
Stay tuned.
Anyway. That's what the after show's for. But I was going to say, Jim, when this comes out, please feel free to use my Rising Tide Publications page to promote it. Okay, I'd like to help.
We'll do. Right. John, make a note of that.
Yeah, John, I'm serious.
I won't remember.
Yeah, one of you, write it down. But anyway, speaking of John, I thought Jim had been drinking because we're millionaires, right, Jim?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
well, we're rich. We're
inside
rich in the love of what we're doing. We have that at least to warm our hearts.
Exactly. Well, it's like that old thing about how do you make a small fortune in self-publishing? Well, you start out with a large fortune. So, and my comic book collaborator Eric Hawkins has a poignant question here, which could take the rest of the hour.
Hey, that's almost like a good name for a pulp character.
Eric Hawkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. Well, in fact, the thing is, we have talked about making him a character in a story I'm going to do next year. Eric Hawkins asks, what are some of the perils and pitfalls when working with Brian K. Morris? I'll be leaving now, folks, so you can talk freely.
Wow.
Go ahead, be brutal. Let it out, Jim.
If you meet with him in person, he does make you also wear a fez. It can't just be him. It's just this weird thing that he has, and I don't get it. But he totally wants to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Giving him a character Bible is just, forget it. No, actually, it's been quite a pleasure, and I don't say this lightly, Brian. You're one of the guys that, like, I wish we could do many more projects together, and we will too.
We will.
I consider you a go-to kind of a guy, and you're always good for a laugh.
Occasionally. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jim. I really do. And now I'm blushing probably. Rick Bradley asks, on the I don't know how to self-publish comment, I agree 100%. I just recently self-published my first book, and thankfully, between the tutorial and Brian, I got it done. Never in a million years did I think I would ever do that.
Hey, congratulations. There's no greater feeling. To hold a book of yours in your hands, but also if it's one that you published yourself, that's even greater. It's just, I keep doing this, but this is this real thing here. There you go. I mean, it's a real tangible thing. Even if it was an ebook, it's still a real tangible thing. And you know what, it's a finished work. It's done and it's out there and hopefully being consumed. Yes.
Yes.
And if you have the courage to do it all yourself and then put your baby out there for people to comment upon, then more power to you and congratulations. There's just the feeling of this is just incredible. And you know what? It never gets old. Look, we just did this, and this line of books back here, this is me, and I not to toot my own horn, or to toot my own horn, but
do it.
But it never gets old. When you open up the box when your author copies come in, and you just and you start reading it, you go, I don't remember writing that. That's not so bad, huh?
I have been saying the same thing for years, Jim, and I want to brag on my boy Rick here, Bradley. It was almost exactly a year ago. He and I met at a convention, and he made a commitment then to become a published writer. And he got his first short story published in about 4 months, and then he got his book out in less than a year.
Good. And that's what it is. You have to make that commitment to yourself. Don't make it to anybody else at first. Make it to yourself, and stop making orphans. Finish something. It may not be any good when it's done, but that's what the editing process is about. But finish it. I see a lot of writers, and I feel for them because they go, oh, I've made 4 starts on 4 different stories, and then I set it aside. And you know what? Stop doing that. Commit to getting to writing the end, and then worry after that of polishing it and fine tuning it and all of that. And I know I said that thing about what the hell's a draft, but and I know it will surprise some people that my books are actually edited. I don't seem like it, but
more mine are.
But It's sad to see that. If you want to do this thing, then find a way to do it. And if that means coming up with some sort of like a time every day that you sit down, I tell myself I have to write every single day. I was out of it for almost 2 years with this, that, and the other thing, and I totally lost my professional behavior, and I had to scratch and scrape and pull myself back up to it, and the key to it was saying I have to write every day, whether it's 100 words or 1,000 words. Write every day, because it's never going to get done unless you do that. And stop worrying about, I only wrote 100 words today. Well, guess what? That's 100 words more you are towards that finish line. Yeah. And I get it. It's not easy sometimes. I'll admit it. I like everything after it's published more than I like the before it's published thing. Writing most times for me is like pulling teeth. There are days where I don't like the process of writing. I like the project and the characters and the story and all of that, but the actual tap, word after word and period, and deciding should I put a hyphen there or, it's like, sometimes that's just like you have to drag me to that finish line. But boy, do I love that, pulling that book out of that box. And you know what? Sometimes that's what keeps me going. Like, if I could get this done, it's going to be the coolest book ever. And I will bask in the adulation of, my fans, when this thing is done. So it's, just do it. Stop abandoning projects. Pick one and say, I am finishing this mother effer no matter what. It can be done. I'm OCD. I'm probably ADD, and believe me, I, have taken a few hits in life, and but here I am, and I have published books to hold up and say, I did it and I got it done, and I'm proud of it.
Yes, you should be.
And here's the soapbox back.
There you go. No. It was all worth saying. And don't forget, folks, National Novel Writing's coming up in November. And I'm going to drop a little bit of news here that we are going to be doing some writing marathons to help people get some words put down in the ones and zeros of your computer. So, and John Bruni has just broken my heart when I said that I married my the person that pushes me. Will my tears never dry, John? And Greg Gick, how you doing, guy? Good to see you, man.
Hey, Greg. Peace, brother.
Yeah, seriously. And Cindy Cap comes back with a couple more questions. I've been very amused by the old movie serials. Do you have a favorite one?
It's funny that you should mention that. I am currently involved in an ongoing podcast where we are talking about the 1943 Batman serial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do. John S. Drew has a podcast called the Batcave Podcast, where he began it by going through all of the Batman 66 episodes, which that's my most favorite TV series ever. And he's far past those now, and he's doing all sorts of other things. And he asked me if I wanted to do one for the 43 Batman serial, and we have such a fun time with it. It's not the greatest serial ever. but it is very, very fun to talk about it. And at a time when, Batman was only about 3 or 4 years old as a character at that point. And you have to remember that. You have to remember what year it is, and not to like criticize it from 2020 standards, but look at it as a kid watching it in 1943 and what they do with it. But and then supposedly when we're done with that, we're actually going to do the 1949 Batman and Robin serial.
That'll be fun. Now, was the 43 one, the one thing I remember from one of the serials was every time Batman or his stuntman threw a punch, his cape would go flying around to the front. Throw it back over shoulder, hit somebody.
That's definitely happening in the 1940s. In the 1940s. And you know what? They tried to correct that in the 66 TV series. Every time Adam West turns around, you got to look and you'll see this square on his back. It's because there are these 4 little snaps in the shape of a square that they. So, but the material is such a material that it whips around stupidly, anyways, and always bunches up and everything. But it is not as bad as Lewis Wilson's cape, which is total. It's you know what? We talk about this. It's more in front of him than it is in back of him. He might as well just rip the damn thing off and throw it, or hit people with it, or, something like snap it, get it wet. Yeah, it's we talk a lot about the costume in that show.
Oh my god, or changing in the car, in the convertible. You get in the front seat, I'll get in the back seat. We'll change clothing.
I have a question for Cindy. She doesn't have to answer this right this moment. Do you have a favorite one? And we'll check back with you.
Yeah, because we are behind in comments, but that's the nature of the beast around here. That's how we get the conversation.
Rapid fire. Let's get some machine gun questioning going.
No, it's all on the host. Cindy Kemp says, if you could write in any story universe with the proper permissions, of course, which would you write in?
Oh, there's one answer and one answer only, and that's at the top of my bucket list, and that's Batman 66. My dream project is a Batman 66 prose novel, and it's never, ever, ever going to happen, and I don't fool myself, that it will. If it ever would have happened, the time has passed. It should have happened, even if it wasn't me. It should have happened right when the license opened up a couple of years ago, and I'm almost kind of glad I didn't see somebody else do it, because I would have hated it. But I'm very jealous. But that's definitely right up there on top. It's funny. I've gotten to do. I've written a Star Wars comic book story. I've written Ghostbusters, Planet of the Apes, X-Files, Kolchak. But I always go right back to Batman 66. And I just think that would be so fun.
Yeah, that would. Let's see. We shot past a whole bunch of comments here. That's
yes,
just
John Bruning. Yes, John Bruning. I am OCD.
And to remind everybody, there is War on Monster Earth, Kaiju in prose form, co-created by Jim Beard here, and it's needing some Kickstarter love. I have pledged to it, and I would appreciate if you would
just a little,
just a tad behind expectations, but that doesn't mean it's not a fantastic book or series of books, because you can get some of the back books with this too, like I did. So please contribute to that Kickstarter if you would, please. And Trevor Hawkins would like to know, who is your favorite JSA character, Jim? Or maybe did we answer that in a way earlier?
Dr. Midnight.
Dr. Midnight. There we go. And well, here we go. Who says we don't make a difference here? Thank you, Charles F. Milhouse.
Backed war. Yes, you have backed the war effort, and we salute you, soldier.
Well done. Well done. And let's see. And okay, here we go. That's a good question. Douglas Deck, another writer, says, should comics be color? I like the black and white art.
It depends on it depends on the project. It really, really does. I think I prefer comic books to be in color, but look at Walking Dead. I think an argument could be made that it needs to be exactly the way it is. And, to have it be in color would be, weird. I almost would have said that about Bone, but when Jet Smith finally did go to color, it was like, oh my God, this looks great. But again, it really depends on the project. But overall, generally, I would say comics, especially superhero comics, need to be in color.
Yeah. I'm also thinking of like the original ElfQuest in black and white, but it took a special kind of coloring to bring that one to life.
Sure.
But I'm thinking also of the old Warren magazines.
Sure. Marvel was putting out, and Marvel was putting out, and DC was doing the showcases, and Marvel was doing the essentials, and it was all in black and white, and there was a lot of complaining about that. I didn't mind it so much because I was getting all of these comics that would cost me a fortune to buy for real, and I was getting them all together, and there was something kind of visceral about seeing what would have the black and white art would have looked like, the actual original art. That maybe stripping away the color, you were seeing more of what the pencilers and inkers were actually doing.
That's true. Trevor Hawkins now would like to know, what was your most harrowing deadline meeting experience?
I don't know. I've always been good with deadlines. You know what? If you're going to write licensed works, you have to be good at deadlines. They don't want to hear. Don't be that guy that says, I'm just going to hand in the Superman book whenever I feel like it. If I remember correctly, the X-Files story was pretty quick because I came into it kind of late. Jonathan had all the other stories, and then he had that one slot. I suspect that maybe he had a writer drop out of the project, and then he thought, you know what, I'm just going to open this up. So he had to take all the time to go through all those pitches and then pick somebody. And it was funny because he gives me a deadline, and I was right on target for it, but he checks in with me, I think like a couple days before the deadline, going like, how's it going? Are you almost done? Are you done? Like, dude, I still have like 3 days for it. Damn it all. You told me I had this, whatever time, and that's the time I'm going to take with it. Okay. Who you think you are? Yeah. So, but other than that, no. I mean, I've either handed stuff in on time or early, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's not a bad thing at all. John Bruning says, if I could wish for anything for Flinch, it would be more time, more pairs of eyes, and more pairs of hands to move the projects along faster.
Definitely. When we first started out with doing that, we said two books a year, and we thought that with just being pretty much a 2-man team on it, that was what we could do. And then kind of dropped down to one book a year, but we got 3 Sergeant Janus books out this year.
There you go.
I think 2 is still going to be pretty much what we can manage, and 3 maybe at the most. But I don't want to rush anything. I want, like I said, we have set out to be everything that the publishers that we don't like are not, are not, and we want to have quality writing, we want to have thorough editing, and we want to have really great covers. And if that's going to take time, then like I said, we will publish no book before it's time.
Thank you, Ernest and Julio Gallo. And Cindy Cap asks, has writing in multiple genres, horror, pulp, etc., complicated your journey? And she says she's received advice that she should unpublish all but one genre and stick with that one only. Yes, Jim.
I've waited all my life for this question.
Oh, good.
Okay.
One off the bucket list.
It's a great question, and it's something that I periodically grow concerned about. And I'm actually in one of those times of being concerned about this. I've just this year come back to writing for the most part. Other than my Marvel.com work, I kind of took almost a 2-year break from prose writing. To put it succinctly, as a writer, I'm all over the map. And there are days when I say, is that hurting me? Meaning, would I have, and I keep hating to use the word fans or fan base. So I'll say readers. Would I have more readers if I stopped those shenanigans and focused on something like, putting out a Sergeant Janus book every year, putting out 2 Sergeant Janus books every year, just, picking a couple of series or characters that I've started and sticking with them, or with a particular genre or theme. I think about this all the time because I look around me and I see, especially in the occult detective world, I see these guys and they've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 different books out already, and they might have even started after I started Sergeant Janus, and then I sit there and I go, wow, they probably have a great, base of readers there that are loyal to them, and as soon as they put out a Charles St. Cyprian book, they're right on that thing. And I don't know what the answer is, because for me personally, I'm interested in so many things that and obviously time is limited, and I know that more than ever these days, that I say, oh well, I still need to do that book about the psychedelic 60s band that never existed, or I need to get back to them, or 100 other different things, or I'm going along doing this, and then suddenly, it's one of those times when lightning strikes and there's suddenly a licensed project, and then I go off on that tangent. I have stopped actively pursuing licensed projects, mostly because I keep using that word, a heartache. It's such a heartache. It's such a soul crusher when you find out that you can't do that character. You maybe finally get an email into that editor and they say, we're not interested in doing a Dark Shadows anthology of original stories, or something like that. But yeah, it's actually a great concern of mine. I can't swear that it's hurting me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's room for a writer and publisher who does many, many, many different things. And there's definitely a benefit to being a focused, writer, and maybe only having 1 or 2 characters, and that's all you write. I don't know if I'm cut out to be J.K. Rowling, who for a long time only wrote, 1 series of books. Maybe Sergeant Janus could be the most famous thing ever, and people just, beg me for the next Sergeant Janus books if I had focused and concentrated on that. But then again, I say this a lot. It's quality, not quantity, maybe. I'd love to get feedback on that. I don't know. I wish I could get more people saying, we really wish that you would do another Lemon Herbert's book. And that's not just for my ego, but really just to, maybe that would help give me some direction. Or do you want a Sergeant Janus book every single year? I could probably swing. It again, Cindy, it's a great question. And it's going to come down to who you are and what you think is best. I always say my writing is more than a hobby, but less than a career. I'm not a full-time writer. I have a full-time day job. I wish I could be a full-time writer, but it's just not in the cards, to make a living, at it. If I had focused on it several years back, I don't know, maybe. But I have stopped worrying about other things. Like, I'm never going to be a New York Times bestselling author. It just ain't going to happen. I'm never going to write that Batman 66 prose novel. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to do that. I have to focus on projects that I fall in love with and have a lot of fun with, and making myself a better writer. Like I've been saying all along, I had to get back up on the horse after a too long of a break and sort of remind myself that I could write. So that's my answer.
I'm glad you did. And of course, I'm in no condition to give you any advice whatsoever. So, don't look to me for wisdom. Anyway,
maybe there should be a support group for writers who are all over the map. Unfocused writers.
You'd be surprised how many times I've thought about something like that, about starting something like that. Seriously,
you know what we need? We need like advisors, like you had in high school. Sitting there and they look over everything that you've done and they go, you need to stop messing around with this crap here and do this.
Yeah, get a real job.
Stop with this ancient astronauts, BS. Or stop doing all of this nonfiction stuff and just concentrate on fiction, or the other way around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh God. Well, look at all the fun we're having, right?
Yeah. Right.
There we go. Jeffrey Hayes says a number of new writers and artists have a fear to put themselves out there. Was there a time you were afraid to do so, but did so, and it paid off for you and your writing career?
Do you mean like put yourself out there as far as like being published? I don't remember ever doing that. I felt I was good enough to be published as a professional writer. I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. I have been very lucky and fortunate with reviews that I've gotten to this point. I have gotten bad reviews, but I've predominantly gotten pretty good reviews. No, I don't think I have, because if I did, then I'd probably just lay down and forget and take more naps and just forget the whole thing. You have to bite the bullet and do it. If you're worried about bad reviews, there's always going to be somebody that's not going to like what you're doing. And you know what? You can tell what's constructive criticism and what's just those idiots who are like, I don't like science. Like they give you an Amazon review of your science fiction book. I don't like science fiction. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to take that to heart. You're an idiot. You reviewed a book by saying you don't like science fiction. I could be Robert Heinlein and you're not going to give me a good review. So you can't worry about stuff like that. You got to put yourself out there, or you're just writing for yourself.
There you go.
And if that's what you want, then just do that and shut up.
And John Bruni says, note to self, harass Brian K. Morris when the time comes.
Okay.
bring it. Okay, let's get some. Oh, let's see. Here we go. Oh, and Rick Bradley says, I'm making him blush. That's my job. And hello, Anna Maria Salvaggio. And who goes on to say, I challenged myself to get my first self-published book out in 24 hours from start to finish.
24 hours?
What? Yeah. Man, I think I sprained something just thinking about it.
Wait, that doesn't include the writing, does it?
Well, it depends on how thick the book is too.
Okay.
I mean, I've got a friend who self-publishes like 6-page stories every year. So,
okay.
And Brian can vouch that I'm crazy, yes, but in that charming, delightful way. And the first time I had it in hand, I couldn't stop smiling.
I know that feeling.
Oh, yeah. My face hurt. There are 3 up now and more coming. I hope I never lose the wonder and awe from holding a new book in my hands. And I tell people, even getting reorders is like magical because, if you do shows, if you do personal appearances, and you have to reorder, that means somebody's getting your work. Somebody's obviously digging it.
And you know what? The day that you lose that wonder and awe, then stop what you're doing and figure out what's wrong and work to get it back, because if not, then why are you doing it?
Exactly. She goes on to say, I just have to core dump and then go back in and worry about punctuation later. If I slow down, my internal editor comes out. Fast shuts the monkey up. Yeah, I got that home. I got that.
If I may interject, and I get that, you want to get stuff out there and have product and things like that, but you've also got to balance that idea about putting out unprofessional work. There's nothing. I've done a few like author fairs, and you go around and you kind of look at your neighbor's books and you go, oh, and then you look at it and you see no indents, no paragraph indents, or not left and right justified, or a space between each paragraph, or a space between every line, or things like that. And it's like, take the time to make a professional publication. I talked about getting done, and I meant getting done with the writing and then taking the time to make sure it's polished. Don't listen to your family. Don't pass your work in front of your family or your very best friend and expect any sort of constructive, criticism. God love your family. They're supporting you. They're saying, go and be what you want to be, and that's great. But you can't necessarily trust that they're going to look at what you just did and say anything other than, but, oh, honey, this is just wonderful. And then, you put it out there. You've got to hear from people you don't know, or professional, writers or editors and things like that. Finish your work, make and put out a professional product.
I work with my wife. Exactly.
Our message. Exactly. Well said, Robin.
Well said, citizen. But no, and the thing is, not everybody's blessed like I am to have a wife who doesn't give a damn about my feelings. So she's a great editor. Yeah, she could not care less if I'm happy at the end of the review or not. Anna Maria Salvaggio goes on to say, woot, all 3 of us are doing NaNoWriMo this year. This will be my daughter's first year doing it. My husband wrote all 3 of his, 100K each, friggin' overachiever. During Nano, I'm going to be doing live stream writing sessions and sprints on Twitch all month. Can't wait. No idea what I'm doing yet, so I'm doing Preptober. Very good. Very good. Prep is very, very important. And great show. Hubby is a big Batman guy, and Batman 66. Nice. Now, Cindy, you asked a question, Jim. What was Cindy Cap's favorite cereal? And I can't fault her for this one. Favorite movie serial is 1937's Zorro Rides Again.
My dad liked that one.
Yeah. Mine is The Adventures of Captain Marvel.
full admission here, I have never seen it.
If you get
I
past
knew I
two
should,
scenes,
but I have never seen it.
it's I think it's excellent. If you get past two scenes that are so freaking out of character for
Mm.
Captain Marvel, one where he early on where he mows some guys down, shoots them in the back with a Gatling gun. As they're trying to run away. You can tell this was a serial. And the other one where he's tired of dealing with this one, he's on the top of this tall building, he's tired of dealing with this gangster, so he just picks him up and tosses him over the side. It's direct. It's not a whole lot of
Other than that, I understand it's fairly faithful.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and the casting is awesome on it. Tom Tyler made a fantastic.
You know what?
Marvel.
Sometimes that's the beauty of those serials is what the liberties that they take. Like the Zorro. I don't know if it's this Zorro one or one of the other Zorro ones. It's one of these things where they set it up as a mystery that they introduce all these characters and you don't know which one is Zorro. It's not Don Diego de la Vega, it's Joe Smith over there as Zorro, And then in the Captain America serial, it's not even Steve Rogers or anything like that at all, and he doesn't have a shield and whatever,
Oh my God.
The Batman one isn't that bad, but there are some liberties taken. The Superman, that's fairly faithful.
Yeah, they are. They really
I don't
are.
think it takes very, very many liberties. And you know what? I've never seen the Black Hawk one, but I don't know how faithful it is.
I'm not either. I've not seen that one, and I haven't seen Masked Marvel. I hear that is, while it's loosely based on Superman, I hear that as far as story quality and acting and everything, that it's really superior. But I've never had the opportunity to see it.
What's the one that's like basically the Phantom, but the name has been changed? I thought that's not the Masked Marvel one, is it?
No, that was Superman.
It's
okay. It's
almost the costume, and I heard the reason for why it is. But yeah, there's a lot of gold in those serials if you can get past the liberties being taken with them.
Yeah, and or also the liberties taken during the cliffhangers. My favorite one I'd heard about for years, and I cannot remember which one it was, but it was like the guys aboard an airplane, the parachutes are gone, the plane blows up, in at the end of chapter 8, and then chapter 9 starts out with, and after his amazing escape from the exploding airplane, we see our hero.
Yeah, you get a lot of angry kids in the audience. Oh, come on.
Yeah, come on. We want to see him get out of it. And she also says that the 1930s Flash Gordon serials are also fun in a 1930s sort of way. And those were pretty faithful.
Very much so. And those are definitely, some of the more well-known ones, too. In fact, the Ming in those, Charles Middleton is in the 1943 Batman serial.
That's right. Right. Yeah. And talk about faithful. The later Batman serial started introducing some of the side characters.
Yeah,
Mickey Vale and Commissioner Gordon.
Alfred is in the first serial, but they have some other police chief. There's no Commissioner Gordon. They could totally have had, but and then his Linda, his fiance is in that too. And then it's funny, in the 1949 serial, Alfred is gone, but they have Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
The 1943 serial is important because it introduced the Batcave. There was no Batcave in the comics before that 43 serial. And it also introduced the idea of a thin Alfred. He was a roly-poly guy in the comics, and that introduced... And it's interesting because Alfred is very fun in the 1943 serial. And you will see a lot of things that they did with Alan Napier in 66 from what they did in the 43 serial. There's some connective tissue there, and that's another thing that John and I do a lot of, and we'll say like, oh, that right there reminds me of the 66 show,
Definitely. And Anna Maria Salvaggio says, "Oh my gosh, I'm happy to hear I'm not the only one. I've got really eclectic interests and love writing different things. It's never boring." And that's the one nice thing about being, self-published,
Yeah.
is that you
Yeah.
can follow your whims.
Hey,
And
if that's what works for you, then go for it.
exactly. And also a book designer editor, and she's OCD on design, so I pay hard attention on professional detail. Though these were 64 pages each, so not
Okay.
novels.
Okay,
That's
cool.
that's still quite a bit of wordage
Yeah.
there, though.
Yeah.
Professional editor designer for 34 years, been working in and around the publishing industry since the mid 90s, and very cool.
Great.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
great.
Yeah, John Bruni says favorite cereal, Spy Smasher. Okay, that's a good choice there
Yeah.
too.
Another one that's, I think, fairly faithful.
Yeah, definitely. We maybe one night on Clever Title Pending, we need to have a cereals night or something. Talk
Okay.
about our favorite cereals, and you're on my list, man.
Okay, that sounds
And
good.
yeah, and Anna Maria Salvaggio's great choice. Cindy, love the Zorro cereal, and Charles F. Millhouse. I've always liked the series Zorro's Black Whip and Zorro's Fighting Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And we got a yes from Anna Maria. Cindy Cap says, I used to use the old serials in my 4th grade classes to teach story structure and prediction. I previewed one of the World War II era Batmans and couldn't use it because of the racial slurs versus Japanese. They are definitely dated in that regard.
Yeah, it is, definitely. There would have to be, a very, a conversation that comes out of that about, what was okay then and what is not okay now. But yeah, it's funny, the 43 serial, it's, right there in the middle of the war. The bad guy is, Dr. Daka. And it's literally that first chapter of, begins with some really, not so great talk about Japanese people right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just got to reading something about a year ago about like the dehumanization of the Axis, characteristics. Was it sounded like it was at the behest of like the State Department, trying to dehumanize the enemy. I wonder if something like that went on in the serials too, or if it was just the overall zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah, one of the things that inform that 43 serial and where they take liberties is that Batman is a government agent.
Oh yeah,
in it.
right.
And from what I understand is the studio, and perhaps because of the government, they didn't like the idea of him being a total vigilante. And so, the war is going on. So of course he's going to work for the government in that. And it's a little, hard to take at times. And you wonder why Bruce Wayne bothers being Batman in it. If you watch it and you listen to the podcast, John and I talk a lot about that, is that there's virtually no reason for him to be Batman. He's not doing anything particularly special as Batman, and he gets he gets just beat up constantly. Those fights are a coin toss of whether or not he'll win any fist fight. But yeah, most of those serials are informed by those times, and so many of the changes are because the war pressure, the pressure of the war on what was going on.
That's true. Anna Maria Salvaggio says, my daughter loves and collects the Hergé Tintin comic books, and we had to have a similar conversation.
Okay,
yeah.
I congratulate you, because you are not withholding that material from your child, but having a conversation, which, in my opinion, and I know it's not the opinion of everybody, that's absolutely what needs to be done. Instead of hiding that stuff from them, and of having that conversation, saying, this was a different time, and society was different then, and this is what was going on, and to say, look at how far we've come now, where this is totally inappropriate, but there's no reason to act like it never happened.
Right.
It's a historical fact, and again, I as a parent, I congratulate you for taking the time, to do that. You want to share things like that with your child, and if there's like a speed bump to get over with, just go along with them, to get over that hump, and make sure that they understand that was the world then, this is the world now.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And we've had conversations like that over the last couple decades with Will Eisner's Spirit about Ebony White.
With Ebony, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's useful. We may never see the Monster Society of Evil on it.
Don't get me started, Brian.
Oh yeah, I know. Me too.
There's so much published today has that simple disclaimer on it, and it's just, I don't understand why that one is constantly being canceled when TCM, Turner Classic Movies, they don't hide movies because of poor representations of different races and different people. They have conversations about it. They bring in some experts, and they talk, and you have the whole thing going on, and then they show the movie. Why not publish Monster Society of Evil, have the disclaimer in there, and then have those conversations? And guess what? If the outside media picks up on it and starts it, whatever, then you know what? DC gets some publicity out of it. You have somebody from, the public relations department at DC, and you have them ready to have those conversations. You know what? Personally, I don't get it. And people can say, "Oh well, I'm an old white guy. What does it matter? What I say about it?" But there's so much of value in having that work published, but both in the good and the bad parts of it, that I think it would be worthwhile.
I agree.
Instead of constantly hiding it and acting like it never happened. It happened.
Yeah, it's good to have a reminder that we don't need to go back to those times ever again.
Yeah.
Anna Maria continues, I homeschooled her from when she was 3 till, now for college. I've never talked to her like a child. She would get levels of information depending on her age, but I like equipping her to make her own decisions about the world. And the dialogues are so important. 2 thumbs up on that one. I agree, Anna Maria. You're doing the right. You're doing some good parenting there. And my friend Magi, Jake Gospel Magician, would like to know, Jim, out of all your books, which is your personal favorite?
Whatever my latest one is. I would have to probably say there's a couple of them. Airship Hunters is one of them. It is probably the one book that I think most of mine that most deserves to go to a higher level of existence. My co-author and I, Dwayne Spurlock, have tried to pitch it as either a TV series or a movie. We didn't get very far, but I am so proud of that because there's no other novel that I can find that's like it. It's based on the 1897 airship mystery, a real world thing that happened in 1897, and has never been solved to this date. It's the forerunner, the precursor to 20th century flying saucers and UFOs. They called them airships in the 1800s, and Dwayne and I offer a fictional solution to the mystery, and we are so very, very proud of that book. And it just came together so well. I'm so proud of that Planet of the Apes book. I know I said that already, but it's just one of those books that I can't believe that it happened and that it came together so well, and that we have that writer lineup that's in it, and that I could walk into Barnes and Noble and find it on the shelf. How cool is that? I never really imagined, anything like that could happen. I'm proud of everything that Flinch Books has put out, and Quest for the Space Gods is definitely high on that list, and not just because of this guy. I have to do this pointing thing. I know.
Yeah.
Wait, how can I?
You have to think like you're in Hollywood Squares, like you
okay, yeah, I get it. This guy.
Yeah, so I have to think that you're on my left
because, and the reason that I'm so proud of it is because, again, it's a unique idea. There's barely anything else out there, like that. It's when we stumble upon those ideas where you go, I don't see anybody else doing anything like this, that you should say, go for it, but do it well, and put a Mark Maddox cover on it.
That sure doesn't hurt.
Good question. Thank you.
That was great. Well, Jim, we have come to the end of our. In fact, we're a couple minutes past 2 hours. I know.
Oh no!
Doesn't the time fly though? Here,
it really does. I thought that was. I didn't think it was anything past an hour and 55 minutes.
Here we are.
Well, I hope we haven't bored the crap out of people, and I hope that they found it interesting and fun. There's fun as much fun as I've had.
Well, good. I'm glad. It's been great having you on here, Jim. And I don't know why
I
didn't
ask
you
so long.
I was going to say, well, I think it's my imposter syndrome. We have kind of a theme here that with Jim, it's Jim. And I should be asking you. I should be asking like Ron Fortier and Rob Davis and everybody and people I know.
Hey, listen, it's the best $50 I've ever spent. I don't know why. I don't know why I had to pay $50 to be on this show, but whatever.
Well, you got the discount. You got the friends and family discount. So
I got the discount. Okay. This has been really, really great. I love the format, and obviously I love talking about myself. And I hope people will take a look at my stuff. Believe me, I think there's a book for everybody in what I've done, and I really mean that. It's how many times have I said it? It's all over the map. It's scattershot. It's like buckshot. I just fire shotguns off and see where it lands. Please check out Flinch Books has a Facebook page, and I have a fan page called the Jim Beard fan page, which I don't update enough. And then if I can stick a plug in from my my podcast.
Oh, by all means, please.
Yeah. So I have a regular ongoing podcast called Comic Chaos with a local radio personality here in my hometown named Fred Lefevre. And it's not always just about comics. It's more about chaos than anything. We just talk about everything. And the whole idea is Fred is about 10 years older than me. So he's coming at things, he read comic books as a child and is only starting to read a little bit now because of me. So he's kind of like the guy that doesn't know anything, and I'm like the annoying know-it-all, and we just have this really fun back and forth that goes on, and it's total chaos. And you can find it wherever you find podcasts. Put in Comic Chaos, podcast, and give us a listen. We usually talk about, like the prominent things, that come up in comics and in comic related movies and TV and things like that. And we're just all over the place, which is what it's really fun. It's total chaos, just like the title says.
There you go. There we go. And we got the accolades coming in. So happy I was able to tune in, says Ana Maria Salvaggio. Very nice to meet you, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All the questions were really, 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 really great.
Yeah,
I
Cindy,
love stuff. I love stuff like that.
Cool. See, I know when to I kind of prime the pump and then let them go. So they come up with all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Cindy Cap says, y'all done good. Thanks for playing and wrangling all the questions I came up with. Charles F. Millhouse says, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Once more into the breach, my friends. Once more, says Cindy Cap. And Teresa Dunn said, great show, learned a lot. And thank you, says Trevor Hawkins. Also, don't forget that little crawl down there that our lovely model Jim is pointing to.
And you know what? Please leave reviews.
For heaven's sakes.
Scared of leaving reviews. Take 30 seconds, take 60 seconds to leave reviews. They really, really, really do help a book.
They really do.
Help a writer. We do not write in a vacuum. We put books out there to be read and hopefully to be enjoyed. And whether or not you enjoyed it, let us know. Be reasonable and be civil, but let us know. Do you want to see more Sergeant Janus books? I don't know. Let me know. Did I totally go off the rails in this book? And that's a railroad joke there because it mostly takes place on trains. I don't know. Let me know.
There we go. Or do you like Quest for the Space Gods?
Yeah.
You should. It's got some great stories in there.
Do you want to see more Brian K. Morris stories about Conrad von Honig? Let us know.
And if you don't send them in until I get my book done. And John Bruning says, great conversation. Proud to have been publishing with Jim for nearly 6 years. Well, it's great. I'm proud of what you guys do. And Jim is right. And Jim, if you wonder if ever you're on this show and you want to promote something, don't forget, folks, that reviews are very important because of algorithms. If nothing else, it provides a possibility for an author to be more prominently displayed on not just Facebook, but also on Google and on Amazon. As you will find out in the book, Amazon Book Reviews Made Less Impossible by Brian K. Morris, a reader's guide to rewarding authors, where we also provide a handy dandy template that you can use to write quick and honest reviews.
It should be several pages of it just says just do it. Just do it.
Just do this damn thing, right?
Yeah. You know what? You may even make some authors or writers' day. Believe me, there are times where I've looked at the ledge outside the window and a good review has changed the course of the day.
That's true. And Magi J Caretaker, I saw him and I met him in person this weekend at NonCon in Franklin, Ohio, real close to Cincinnati. And he says, "Come to NonCon 6, Jim."
Well, tell the promoters to tell me that they want me to be at NonCon.
Talk to me, Jim. Talk to me. Anyway, thank you all for your participation tonight. We can always tell when we've got a good show going when we are so far behind, and this was no exception. Jim, you have been fabulous. Thank you very much for being here. And I want to give you the floor one more time. Please let everyone know where they can follow you. You mentioned the two Facebook pages, but where they can follow you and keep up on your exploits.
First and foremost, go to Amazon and put in my name, and you'll see all my books except for one. The Kolchak book that I did is only available on moonstonebooks.com. It's a novella. It's a short novel, and I hope you'll check that out there. I'm on Facebook at the Jim Beard fan page. I have a Facebook page for Gotham City 14 Miles, and the newest Batman 66 book, which is Zlonk Zok Zowie. We are working on the second volume right now. This is for season 1, and we're working on season 2 right now. And the Flinch Books page, that's FLINCH, Flinch Books on Facebook. And you can also find me on Twitter at Writer Jim Beard, all one word. But please check out my books and tell me what you think.
Excellent. Well,
send money.
Yeah, please send money. No,
Soupy Sales one time said, "Kids, go into your parents' wallet, and there's a green paper, and put it in an envelope and send it." And I think he got like fired for that.
Yeah, he did.
You know what? There's nobody to fire me, so just do that.
That's true. He is his own publisher, so he can suffer no repercussions. Yeah. And if it works, I'm going to have you do the same for me.
I would much prefer if you would buy one of my books. I want you to get something for your money. And go to the Kickstarter page, too.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Kickstarter page on the way out. War on Monster Earth. Yeah. If you love big stompy monsters and kaiju, you will love it. You really will. And
don't make James Palmer cry. It's sad sight to see that boy cry.
I thought about it, and I had to pledge. I think I did for the common good. Anna Maria Salvaggio has the last word here. If you see any followers from Romelia, that's me. Looking forward to reading more of both of you. Thank you. Great stream. Thank you, darling. Appreciate you, hon, so much. And Jim Beard, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
All right.
This is a mutual appreciation society.
Most definitely. Jim, please hang around for a few minutes while I close out the show so we can talk a little more. And thank you again, Jim. You're the best, man. And we're gonna take him out of here. Nope, I'm taking me out of here. Why'd I give him the whole screen? What the hell? We're done with him. Anyway. I've only been using StreamYard for a year now, and I still, I just found it this afternoon. So anyway, again, thank you very much to Jim Beard for being here on Clever Title Pending. Next week, we're going to have author Michaela Jade, fantasy writer, and we're going to talk about her journey as a newly minted self-publisher. She's been published by others, and she's going to talk about why she likes doing it all on her own now. Thank you all very much for your questions, and thank you to everyone who's watching us either live and participating or watching us on the reruns. We hope you get a lot from this, and we do this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time, different guests every week, and we talk about creativity and the business behind it. I'm glad to say that we're glad to say that we appreciate all of you. Thank you all for being here and participating. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on Never Mind the Furthermore at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on this here page. While I fumble looking for the next bit of film that I'm to use. Yes, it's that slick around here. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for being here tonight. And also hello to our friends on iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. We appreciate your tuning in to us, and we hope you'll join us next week on Clever Title Pending. So as always, please, whatever page that you saw this video on Facebook, please give that page a like, because you can show your support in a very tangible way. Also, always leave reviews for your authors. It helps them a lot. And if you're watching this on Geek Insider or on the Rising Tide Publications page on YouTube, please subscribe. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and when you subscribe, ring that bell so you'll be notified of all future appearances on those channels. We got some great programming coming up in the immediate future, and you'll like it. Okay, so anyway, in closing, this is myself, Brian K. Morris, telling you all, please stay safe, stay smart, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Thank you for being here on Clever Title Pending.
Thank you for tuning in to Clever Title Pending, a Rising Tide Publications and Brian K. Morris production. A member of Comic Book Advocating Network and sponsored by GeekInsider.com. Become part of our show with sponsorship and advertising opportunities. For details, contact advertising at GeekInsider.com or visit podcast.geekinsider.com. The Geek Insider Podcast is available on your favorite app, so please hit the follow button and share it out to your friends, because if you don't, you might have to turn in your geek card.